Hello, friends. Welcome back to Love Wrestling. Spencer Love here with another of ROH's finest. Brian Johnson joining me today, man. It's very, very cool to get the opportunity to you. It would have been at any point throughout your 15 years in pro wrestling, but especially now, 2021's been a really great year for you. Obviously, some losses to Mr. Danhausen in there via nefarious memes thrown in every so often, but it's been a really good year for Brian Johnson as far as the in-ring goes. How are you doing, man? How are you feeling as we approach the end of 2021?
Well, we're about to have possibly the biggest final battle in company's history. And while I'm not sure when this releases, my match is yet to be determined, but I know that currently I'm the number one contender for the ROH Pure Championship, and there's only so many dates left in the year.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, final battle really taking on a little bit extra meaning, especially for this edition of the Ring of Honor roster, right? What's your mind space at going into it? Obviously, you want to go into any pay-per-view, going out there, putting out your best. But when, again, this is the end of an era for this edition, to stress again, of Ring of Honor. What's your mental state at? How are you feeling approaching Final Battle 2021?
Well, I think I can speak for everybody on the roster. The news sucked. It was kicking the balls, right? But pro wrestlers are survivors. And if you're going to stick around in this business, you got to survive. So, yeah, it was unfortunate what happened. And it's never ideal to have something like that come about. I got to keep moving on to the next thing. And the next thing is probably Final Battle. And that might be the most eyes Ring of Honor has had on it for a long time, because I don't think I'm surprising anybody when I talk about the influences of Ring of Honor throughout wrestling. Any promotion worldwide has their fingerprints with Ring of Honor on it. The biggest moments in wrestling throughout the last 19 years have moments of Ring of Honor on it, whether it's a Yes Movement or someone in Chicago. Like, those guys all have their roots with Ring of Honor. That being said, to know that so many eyes and so many influences around this wrestling world are probably going to be watching, because it could be an end of an era, or it certainly is an end of an era. Who knows what the future holds, right? I think in the long run, it could be the biggest opportunity in my life, and I'm looking at it that way. So I'm gearing up. I'm pretty tunnel vision heading into the 11th.
Yeah, you've been with Ring of Honor now for about 4 years. Excuse my math, 2018, whatever the hell that might be.
Yes, close.
But is that maybe what drew you to Ring of Honor initially? As I know, you started training in 2006. You have really always been a great in-ring professional wrestler. Ring of Honor's always been known as that wrestling promotion. Is that sort of what made the initial fit for you?
Yeah, man. I've made no bones about my goals in pro wrestling, whether it be Ring of Honor or any other promotion I work for. It's to go down as one of the best, so that when people are talking about the list of, I want to be on it. And you don't get on the list of however many, in the sport of professional wrestling, if you don't dig your teeth in at Ring of Honor. We are the best wrestling on the planet. We have a roster for bozos. Yes. Do we have some jackasses? Yes. But the talent that we have, I think, is unmatched. So I set my flag there, and I was going to plan on waving it till no longer, and that might be, I guess, December 31st.
Where have you maybe grown as a pro wrestler over the 3-4 years that you've been with the promotion? You come out of the inaugural class of the ROH dojo. You're the number one ranked top prospect in the top prospects tournament that year. So obviously you got a bit of pedigree to you, for lack of a better way to put it. But even since then, where do you find maybe you've developed or grown, or what have you learned?
I think the biggest thing I gained at Ring of Honor was self-awareness. That, to me, in pro wrestling is so important. I came onto the scene. I was wearing this ridiculous freaking robe. I strutted. I used stupid catchphrases. I was doing what I thought a pro wrestler that I thought I was supposed to be, right? And through training and some peeling back and some failures, I just kind of was enough of that shit and really got to just who I was. And that's a guy that's more passionate about professional wrestling than anybody else that laces up a pair of boots. And when I started to have a microphone to show that passion, boy, did I take off, I feel like. So Ring of Honor, if anything, it helped me mature as a performer. I learned more about who I was and how to apply that in the ring than any maybe fundamentally sound move or, cool high flying tactic bullshit. No, it helped me grow a lot more as a person, which I think has made for what's been a pretty successful last, I guess, 16 months or so.
I completely agree. I want to, pivot off of that a little bit for a second, because you mentioned there your ability to promo, your ability to trash talk. You're obviously an eloquent guy, even in the, 10, 15 minutes we've been chatting thus far. But where do you develop that sort of stuff? Because it's not like you can just, walk down the street and start promoing a guy or anything like that, right? How do you work on that?
Well, I mean, I guess you can if you know how to defend yourself. You can do whatever you want, man. I once was told you could try anything once, so you could definitely try it. I guess I appreciate you saying I'm eloquent. I'll put it this way, for whoever listens to this, I am the best promo in professional wrestling, and I have no problem saying that because I know it to be a fact. Any other jackass that says different, come knock on my door. And why am I so eloquent, or how have I gotten so good at it? Well, because I come from a generation of wrestling fans who grew up just mostly as nerds. Like, look at the guys that are in our locker rooms now. They're all fans who were dorks that got picked on, that looked up to guys. Well, I wasn't. I like sports and have a life and talk to girls, all these things that most wrestling fans can't do. So when I get on a microphone, I don't have this introverted feeling. No, I know that I'm the best damn wrestler out there. And now that Ring of Honor is giving me a platform to shout that from the mountaintops, I'm not shutting up. And that's why I'm good at it, because I believe in what I say. So many other guys get on the microphone and they don't believe it because they know their shit stinks. They're just wearing some other form of perfume.
It's cool to hear.
I believe it.
It's cool to hear that tie back, like you said, sort of the self-confidence or the self-realization that you've sort of developed through your years with Ring of Honor. It was cool to hear when I was doing my research for this is, you have a very good independent scene career prior to this, but you were really targeted and you really stayed with a lot of the same promotions throughout your time prior to Ring of Honor. Now, you haven't made any announcements as far as a major deal or anything like that quite yet, I would assume. But moving forward, are you planning on branching out more? And maybe how do you feel that self-confidence and that is going to be an asset for you?
So when Ring of Honor closed, it sucked, man. While I didn't always agree with every person I ran into, and I certainly had my struggles throughout the locker room, it was still home, almost, the way you fight with a brother and sister. But if, Joe Schmo on the street says something, it's a problem, right? It was kind of how I felt about that place. And I put out a promo talking about it recently on my Instagram and Twitter that I know we'll talk about later or plug later, whatever. Pretty much announcing that this mecha locomotive is free to touch down anywhere in the world. So I'm in the talks with different promotions at the moment. My 2022 is filling up at the moment. I'm hoping that it's the biggest run of my independent career, I guess you could call it, ever. Because, while you said I had a good independent career, it was okay, right? I worked some indies on the Northeast. I wouldn't say that I worked any big indies. I wouldn't say that I had notoriety coming into Ring of Honor the way that a guy like Alex Zane may have. You know what I mean? Like, those type guys are special. They've done it longer than I have. And now to have to go out and swim in uncharted waters is I'm not nervous. I'm excited for the opportunity to mix it up with some of these guys.
That's really cool to hear, man. You just love to hear stuff like that. Moving forward then, are there any particular promotions that you do want to work for? You mentioned you didn't work for any of the big indies out there, and that scene's really exploded even again over the last 3 years that you've been assigned contract with Ring of Honor. So anyone in particular that you're looking for?
I mean, I think we know all the big ones around the nation, right? GCW, Defy, Beyond, New Texas Pro, yada, yada. The list goes on and on. Black Label, Polaro, et cetera, et cetera. Anywhere I can touch down, I wouldn't say that there's a favorite or a not favorite, because I think there's a lot of gems out there that maybe don't have the big publicity of IWTV behind them, et cetera, that could be in a small place in Arkansas. I don't know. I'm just throwing out a place. You know what I mean? Like, there's gems in pro wrestling all over the world. So I don't want to
Yeah.
limit it and say, kiss ass to some big promotion here and there. And at the time, I'd be wrong if I didn't mention it. I'm working for probably the most consistent, popular, fan drawing company on the East Coast in independent wrestling. I'm the MCW heavyweight champion.
Mm-hmm.
That place constantly has 600, 700, 800 people a month in Joppa, Maryland. They just sold out a badass show in Hollywood, Maryland last weekend. They got some of the top talent that wrestles around. Now, whether or not I'm welcomed in that locker room seems to be a consistent problem that I'm having around here. But people don't like when you tell the truth in wrestling, and I happen to do that louder and better than anybody, so they get pissed off. But right now, I feel like the East Coast, I have one of the premier promotions backing me, and it's a hell of a feeling with a hell of a locker room. And I hope to just keep that momentum that I've been lucky to pick. Not lucky, I worked for it. That ain't luck. I bust my ass for it. That I busted my ass for, and hopefully keep that rolling other places.
Completely agree, man. And selfishly, I hope we get you back up here in Canada sooner rather than later. Up to this point, the only time I've gotten to see you wrestle live was when you were up here for the CWE. So maybe before we get into your memories with Ring of Honor and stuff like that, let's maybe talk about memories of Canada, or maybe if you've got any from your time up here in the Great White North.
I wouldn't be the wrestler I am today if I didn't have that Canada tour. Period, bar none. Shit, I might not have even been part of Ring of Honor at the point when they had to release this. I might not have made it. It was coming off the biggest loss of my career at the Top Prospect tournament in August of 2019. I lost to Austin Gunn, Hall of Famer's son, great talent out on AEW, jackass, but talented. I lost it. Then it sucked, man. It really freaking sucked. I still kind of get hot thinking about it, and I didn't know where I was going to be, and I didn't know what to do. And wrestlers, I think we all kind of get this panic feeling pretty quick, and it set in. And then I had to interrupt some commentary, and still wasn't getting common decency of being booked. And then I had to interrupt a match where I wrestled freaking Ian Riccaboni and Hudson. It was hell on earth, man. It was hell on freaking earth. And then I was like, well, where could be worse? So I picked up and went to Canada. Seriously, I mean, it's nothing like having to wrestle in front of an entire country of people who just like maybe barely understand the invention of the wheel, and fire kind of amazes them. So it's a simplistic view of just assholes and idiots for miles and miles. And I hopped in a car with a group of guys from CWE who try as they must. They work their asses off, those guys. We had 25 matches in 25 nights. God damn. That's unheard of nowadays. And from town to town in Canada, whether they were 360 pounds, which most of the women were, or heavier, or the men with bad dental plans, they were entertained by the Mecca, and I was finding my groove. And if you look, I came back, and coincidence or not, PJ Black immediately wanted to team with me. And then we went on a little bit of a winning streak. And then that goddamn thing called COVID showed up and kind of put a stamp on everything. But it was the run of 25 nights in a car with, I don't know what you consider Juventud Guerrero, one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time. Me and him rode up and down Canada together. The Mecca and a cruiserweight driving through Canada. It was, it should have been a sitcom. But we built a good relationship, and we kicked ass, man. It was awesome. It was an awesome time. I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's awesome to hear, man. And again, selfishly, I hope we get you back up here sooner rather than later, because you get to watch you on TV fairly consistently, and we're lucky to get to do that up here, despite, like you said, the fire burning down our igloos up here in the Great White North. But there's nothing quite like getting to see people professionally wrestle live, and I hope to get the chance to do so again soon, man. But before we close it out here, I have to ask, of course, it's again, the end of an era we keep going back to with Ring of Honor. And I hope that when it comes back in April of 2022, you are a big, big part of it, because I've thoroughly enjoyed you being a big part of it over the last few years. Yep. Maybe just some memories or some people that influenced you, or just, I guess, an open platform for the last few years with Ring of Honor for Brian Johnson.
Well, I think it's fitting. You referred to it as end of an era, right? And that's kind of what we're coming to, and it's kind of what has fueled me, is that this era has just been so freaking stuck in the past. I constantly put on our social media to see some throwback Thursday nonsense or the Honor Club's touting some old match from some jackass that ain't here anymore. Heck, this week on Ring of Honor television, right? Who am I wrestling? John Walters, the insurance salesman or former pure champion, whatever you refer to him as. And it's constantly this refreshment of our history, yet they weren't looking to the future. So my memories of Ring of Honor are that I had the best damn year of my life doing it by myself. I didn't get help from one person in that locker room. I didn't get help from one individual. Why? Because it's always been and always will be Mecca versus everybody. That's not a tagline. That's not a slogan. It's not just a way to push T-shirts or nonsense. No, it's what I truly believe. Name me the person that opened the door for me there. Name me the person that kept the door open for me there. Now, yeah, sure. PJ Black, did he help me out a bit? Yeah, I'd be wrong if I didn't mention him. But in the long run, he questioned everything I did. And what happened? He trusted my process. 1, 2, 3. I beat his ass on TV a couple weeks ago. Now he's hanging out with that bozo Flip Gordon who thinks it's 2018. Yeah, I'm the one that needed guidance. So my memories of Ring of Honor are that, yeah, it's the most prestigious wrestling company on the planet. And in 2021, when you talk about it, there's only 2 people you can talk about. And that's probably John Gresham. And the other one's the Mecca Brian Johnson. And that people cannot and will not take away from me. And you know which ways you do that? You do that by making moments. And I made them all year long. And I'll be damned if at the end of an era at Final Battle, I don't make another one.
Well, I'd be remiss to bet against you, man. And I'd also be remiss to bet against that happening in 2022. I cannot personally wait for what you get up to in the near future, man. And if people want to keep up to date with what will be happening in the future with you, how can they do so? Whether it's social media, Pro Wrestling Tees, anywhere in between.
So Pro Wrestling Tees have been calling me for years trying to get a T-shirt on there. And I told them time and time again that I don't want jackasses like you riding my bandwagon. But desperate times call for desperate measures. So who knows? Keep your eyes out. There might be something showing up there. But at the time being, Twitter, Instagram, it's all the same. BJO_Mecca, MECCA. You'll find out where I'm at. You'll find out what promotions I'm at. Again, I'd be wrong if I didn't mention MCWProWrestling.com. I am their current heavyweight champion and will be defending in a big match on December 3rd also. So if you want to check out all things Mecca Championship Wrestling is a good place to check it out.
Absolutely, friend. We always want to support independent wrestling here on Love Wrestling, and it's easier than ever, of course, when you got the internet, this wild and wonderful, almost 30-year-old thing. But
yeah, it connects me with bozos like you.
Well, what can you do? I won't ever, deny that I'm a bozo on that end of things, but it certainly makes one of us, at least as far as this conversation goes, man. I thoroughly appreciate you being here. It's going to be a busy couple months for the Ring of Honor roster, so I'm glad that you took the time for me today. Thank you once again.
Yep. Have a good one, my man.
You too. And thank you, friends, for tuning in. If you want to keep up to the latest and greatest in professional wrestling, give Love Wrestling a follow wherever videos are viewed or audio is played at Love Wrestling CA. For Brian Johnson, I've been Spencer Love. Thanks for tuning in, friends. We'll catch you on the next one.